An alarming decision by Hartford's fire chief. Next. Welcome to the Stan Simpson Show, a program about Connecticut people and compelling issues. Make it a point to drop in every week. When Charles Teale Sr. was hired by the Hartford Fire Department in 1982, he had nothing more than a high school diploma. But while chasing fires, he was also pursuing his education. Teale earned his associate's degree, then his bachelor's, and later his master's in public administration. Teale was working on his doctorate when promoted to chief 9 years ago. Now, after 27 years on the force, one of Hartford's most prominent leaders is stepping aside. Chief Teale wants to complete his doctorate's degree in psychology. His plan is to work with wayward young men, something he once was. Today, we chat with Chief Teale about his future. Then we'll wrap things up by talking to Barbara Smith, a breast cancer survivor. She is not thrilled about a new report recommending that women take regular mammograms at a much later age in life than previously suggested. But first, Charles Allen Teale Sr. Chief.
Well, sir.
27 years.
Absolutely.
Salute.
It's wonderful to see you.
So it's good to see you now. You're stepping aside. I guess for some it's a surprise, but you've been always angling for education. But why now?
Well, it's a matter of trying to get as much return on my investment as I possibly can with regards to education. I'm 54 years old. By the time I actually retire, I'll be 55. It's going to take 5 years to complete a doctorate degree in clinical psychology, so I'll be 60 years of age. If I wait any longer than that, I won't be able to reach as many people as I'd like to be able to reach, obviously. I don't want to get out there and start working the profession at the age of 65.
How hard a decision? It sounds like you mapped this thing out, but how difficult was it to say, you know what, this is the time?
It just seemed to be the right time. It's amazing how many people told me over the course of the past 10 years, actually, that I'll know when the time is right. Because I actually had 20 years in, obviously, some time ago. I mean, this is my 27th year, but almost 28 years. But I was considering it at that point in time. It just didn't seem like the right time to do it.
When?
Well, I thought about it, actually, when I had been on the job for 20 years. Okay. So, in other words, in the year 2002. Shortly after the occurrences, of course, of September 11, 2001, we had a great deal that we were working on with regards to preparing our department to address the new needs of our society. And the fire service was stepping up in a very large way. The Hartford Fire Department, certainly no exception. As a matter of fact, we made a lot of progress during that point in time. So I was focused on making a lot of positive changes along with many of the members of my department. Some of them are now retired, but it just didn't seem to be the right time because I had too much that I wanted to get done.
A lot of stress on this job. You've seen firefighters die. You've had suicides in the department. You had a horrifying fire 6 years ago, the Greenwood fire, 16 people killed. From a mental health standpoint, how difficult is it for you to manage those emotions every day?
The first thing that I will tell the next fire chief, of course, is the current Fire Marshal, Edward Caceres. First thing I tell him is, get a good cardiologist and a good psychologist. I mean it. It is really that stressful. The job never lets up. If you go on vacation, I don't care if you're in Paris, you've got to leave your telephone number in case something really bad goes wrong or something happens, the unspeakable happens.
Right.
You've got to hop on a plane and come back. It never, ever, ever, ever lets up. The stress is always there.
In your business, something bad happens, people die.
Absolutely.
So for you now, how did you manage your stress? Because you're going into psychology. What did you do to make sure you were fit?
Well, I came to realize that it would be a challenge. I mean, I did have a system of networking with other members of the fire service throughout the nation. As a matter of fact, the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs of the International Association of Fire Chiefs was very helpful, and the Connecticut Career Fire Chiefs. Individuals who made me aware of the fact that this is the reality of the position, that if you're going to work it for an extended period of time, incidentally, my sources tell me the average length of time for a fire chief is 2.7 years. Wow. I will have lasted 10 years, and I could not have done it with all the members of the Hartford Fire Department not helping me. I mean, they had to help me.
Did you meditate? Did you work out? What kind of strategies out there for chiefs?
I did work out. I did throw myself completely into the profession. It's very strange at this point in time. I mean, places that I have seen every day that I've been home, living in Hartford, of course, all my life, they look different now. I don't know how else to put it. It's a very strange set of circumstances. It's a wonderful time period, a lot of hills and valleys, emotionally speaking. But I did deal with the situation by, yes, indeed, dealing with a psychologist whenever necessary. When I found it to be too stressful so that I didn't respond to the stress in an inappropriate fashion, I did seek help.
That Greenwood fire took a lot out of you. That Greenwood fire, 16 people killed, that took a lot out of you.
It did, and quite frankly, if it weren't for the fact that I didn't want to end my career with that as the last experience, I think I would have ended it. Yeah. I mean, I really would have. I would
Why?
Have said,
just too much loss?
Way too much. Yeah, we have an excellent record. You know, you're kind of superstitious at this stage. You don't want to really say things have been going quite well, because then that's when things go wrong.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is, we actually have had great success when it comes to saving lives and protecting property. And when that transpired, it really threw me for a loop. We hadn't seen anything like that since 1961.
Right.
I was 6 years old, the Hartford Hospital fire.
And then telling the families also, not only having to deal with it, then telling the families, hey, you lost these loved ones.
Yeah, that was a bit much more than I thought I could bear. But I think if anyone had told me that I'd have to deal with those things when I became chief of the department, I wouldn't pursue the position. But I did, and I was able to meet the challenge.
Let's talk about race in the fire departments. Historically, we know race and racism has always been entrenched in fire departments. Hartford has a unique distinction now. The last 3 or 4 chiefs have been African Americans. We had the case in New Haven, a racial discrimination case where white firefighters said there was bias against them. What were your thoughts on all that? Because that sort of turned the tables where, for once, there were white firefighters saying that they were discriminated against when historically it had been blacks and Latinos.
Well, actually, I sense that their experience is not directly relevant to ours.
Why not?
Well, there's a different organizational structure for their fire department, for one thing. They have a board of fire commissioners. Many departments do. Most fire departments have a board of fire commissioners. The Hartford Fire Department hasn't had a board of fire commissioners since 1947. So I sense that all the responsibility of making sure that we have a diverse department rests on me. I hire, I fire, I promote, I demote. That's my responsibility.
What have you done in Hartford in about a minute and a half here? Because Hartford is a very diverse fire department. Leadership ranks on down. What is it that Hartford has done to make sure the ranks are diverse?
Make it merit-based. Get out into the community. Make people aware of what the 6 steps of the testing process consist of.
Which are?
People, oh my.
Give me 2 out of
You got a written exam, an oral interview.
Okay.
You got a strength and agility test. You got a physical. You got an interview by the fire chief.
Right.
And I'm missing one.
But you're going by what you see too in leadership. When someone's trying to be promoted, you go by the test, but also what you see from a leadership standpoint as they work every day, I assume. And I assume with your background, education. If there are guys and women who are out there trying to educate themselves while they're there, I'm assuming that gets points for anyone trying to ascend to leadership.
Well, absolutely. And once again, you got to make sure that it's merit-based. I don't want anyone to think that they can get ahead through some other method other than applying themselves. Once they understand that if they apply themselves, they get ahead, then they apply themselves. Otherwise, there's nothing I can do for a person. Mm-hmm. I really can't. And that's what I had to do. I mean, I did share with you my history when I was coming up. And for a long time, I didn't get ahead because I didn't apply myself academically. I didn't have the training, education, and experience necessary to succeed in any profession.
I want to talk about that. You came to the department as a high school. You dropped out of high school, then got your GED, came to the department with your GED. But before you did that, you had a talk with a guy named Walter Doc Hurley. And basically, you were not doing well in high school, right? 14, 15 years old. Walk us through that.
No, that was a difficult time. Actually, I got to, I believe, the age of 17. I had dropped out when I was 14. I tried going back and forth. I mean, at one point, I went to summer school. I went to a school called Hotchkiss for about 2 months. A lot of kids went to Hotchkiss. But in any event, I didn't go back to school regularly enough to get any high school credit. And when I dropped out, I started getting jobs here and there, and it's unfortunate to have to admit to this, but I made people think that I was 18 years of age. I was a big kid.
You fibbed, but you fibbed.
Well, yeah, I did.
But do this. We have about 30 seconds. I'm going to continue the conversation about this background education. I'm going to take a break here.
Okay.
Come back and talk about your education and about your future, folks. We're going to come back and talk with retiring Hartford Fire Chief Charles Teale. He is one of the city's most respected leaders. Now, is a run for mayor in his future? We'll ask that question, and also his background education. You are watching The Stan Simpson Show. Don't go away.